Right, welcome to this episode of our program Arab Affairs. As usual, we will be discussing an important Arab file. Today we'll be speaking about Libya. And recently, two Libyan factions wound up a meeting in Morocco without any sign of agreement on the electoral law ahead of the polls scheduled for December 24th. However, they jointly appealed for international support to Libya for proceeding with the political process following years of unrest. The whole world has been pushing and urging all Libyan factions in order to proceed with the elections, in order to find the stability in Libya. Recently, there has been some movements inside the Libyan scene. Some of these moves were to restore the or to strengthen rather the strong institutions inside the country. We'll be discussing Libya and the scene inside Libya in our episode today. But before we delve into our discussion today, has witnessed the participation of President Sisi in the Judiciary Day celebration. And President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi witnessed on Saturday the celebration marking the Egyptian Judiciary Day at Al Manara International Conference Center in the 5th settlement in Cairo Governorate, an event that is being held for the very first time and attended by the leadership, the highest leadership, the president himself in such a ceremony. The ceremony was attended by former President Adli Mansour, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, Minister of Justice Omar Marwan, as well as a number of state officials and media figures, in addition to members and heads of the judiciary organizations. Upon his arrival, President Sisi expressed his deep appreciation for meeting the judiciary panel's members. During the celebrations, the President received the Judiciary Shield from the Minister of Justice on behalf of the Supreme Council for Justice. The President also honored distinguished martyr judges who sacrificed their lives in terrorist operations. President Sisi also announced his full respect to the Judiciary Authority, affirming that he has directed the government to meet all the requirements to enhance its working system. He added that he is not far away from understanding the independence of the judiciary system. In fact, he is in full support of this power and of its independence. The head of state also said that improving the judicial rulings by practicing justice and applying science and integrity enhances the message of the Supreme Judicial Authority. The President also extended his appreciation and respect for former interim President Adli Mansour for his support at the very hot times and critical stage Egypt went through. Also, during this ceremony, the Minister of Justice, Omar Marwan, addressed the attendees and stressed that the establishment of the City of Justice in the new administrative capital is the base of the ministry's projects to develop judicial work. Marwan stated that in less than 2 years, the ministry accomplished an unprecedented achievements concerning the developmental projects to elevate the judiciary system, praising President Sisi's support in this regard. Also, the head of the Supreme Constitutional Court, Councillor Saeed Marai, said that the President was the first head of state to give directives to activate the role of Egyptian women in judicial bodies. He stressed that the President was also the first to order the introduction of electronic justice in all courts within the framework of the largest digital Egyptian project. Egypt is seeing a new stage of introducing women, empowering women to the judiciary system. Also, the president has today highlighted how the leadership in Egypt is very much into the independence of each power in Egypt, particularly the judiciary system, in which the president stressed that he is fully aware and in full support for the judiciary powers in order to give the very independent sentences and be able to control the judiciary system. Before we delve into our discussion and before we go on into our main topic of the day, which is Libya and the stability in Libya, let's first have a quick look on the Arab news that took place during this week.
A virtual high-level meeting on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly on Sudan was attended on Thursday by Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, where he said that the video conference was a chance for international partners to support Sudan during the transitional phase. The meeting was attended by Abdullah Hamdouk, Prime Minister of Sudan, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and a group of ministers from countries friendly to Sudan. Shoukry urged support for Sudan against all challenges it's facing during the transitional period. He also emphasized Egypt's commitment to back its southern neighbor, as its stability and security are an integral part for those of Eastern Africa. In a boost for their struggling economies, Jordan fully reopened its main border crossing with Syria on Wednesday, following a push by the Arab states. A convoy of Syrian traders waited to enter the Jordanian side of the border at the Jaber crossing. Police officers with dogs searched cars and coaches as they crossed through the gate, and a stream of taxis with passengers also lined up to pass through customs and immigration control. A probe into catastrophic explosion at Beirut port was frozen on Monday when a former minister wanted for questioning as a suspect filed a case questioning the lead investigator's neutrality. The August 4, 2020 Beirut port blast killed more than 200 people, injured thousands, and destroyed swath of Beirut. It was caused by a large quantity of explosive chemicals stored at a warehouse unsafely for years. 3 Palestinians were killed on Thursday by Israeli fire, including a woman killed in Jerusalem, a man shot during West Bank clashes, and another who approached the border fence. The violence comes days after an Israeli raid on fighters in the occupied West Bank left 5 Palestinians dead. In a separate attack in Burqin, the northern West Bank near Jenin, Israeli troops and border police conducted an operation to arrest Palestinians. At least 100 Yemeni rebels and pro-government troops have been killed in the past 28 hours as fighting intensifies for the key city of Ma'rib. A string of airstrikes from the Saudi-led coalition targeted Houthi rebels who have stepped up their assault on Ma'rib and the government's last northern stronghold. Medical sources said that 68 Houthis and 32 loyalists were killed in the latest clashes.
Right, welcome back. And speaking on our topic of the day, which is the Libyan file, and definitely the Libyan file has been going on through several stages, but the whole world now is in need for the stability of Libya and has been urging the Libyan people and factions to accelerate with the electoral process and the elections for the security and stability of the country. I guess we have with us over the phone to highlight and give his reading to the scene, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good afternoon to you, Ambassador Bayoumi.
Good afternoon.
I'm fine, thank you so much. And we're speaking here about the developments in the Libyan scene. And let me take first your reading to the situation.
Libya is very important part of our foreign relations. It's not just foreign relations. It is a brother country. It is our neighbor. It is our immediate border on our western border. And it has many problems to be faced. As Egyptian, we do not realize what is happening in some Arab countries or in Africa, where many tribes and many parties are dividing the country, and nobody is looking to the fate of the country and just looking to the benefit of a tribe or a party. Here in Egypt, we don't feel this. If I am from Aswan and you are from Alexandria, after all, we are Egyptians, and this is one good part of the Egyptian national security. So Libya is very important for all who I said that. Also, we have a big community of Egyptians living in Libya. 2 million Egyptians are helping Libya for development and daily activities. And of course, we are very keen to get rid of any forces staying in Libya, the forces of some countries at having share in Libya, also from Syria or from Libya. They reflect Libyan security to the Egyptian security, the Arab security also. What Mr. So we are
such hearing accelerate with the election process.
very important point for what you are saying. Exactly, Egypt is one, if it's not the oldest country in the world. We have a history before Christ goes for more than 5,000 years ago. We have written diplomacy. We have sent envoys 2,000 years before Christ. So this means that we have a experience where we can offer scenarios for each problem. And here comes the strength of the Egyptian experience, that you are not sticking to one scenario. If they want the red scenario or the white scenario, the green scenario, we have all the merchandise anybody needs to know. So I am quite confident that our negotiators can have all the means and the ways in order to convince the Libyan to come to a serious and honest draft of a law, whether it is for the parliament or for the presidency, name it. So this is one of the strengths of the Egyptian diplomacy, and the Egyptian state and the history of Egypt is quite clear about that. And by the way, it's not you or me who are saying this. It's well recognized all over the world that the Egyptian experience and the Egyptian diplomacy is above the best sort in any place in the world.
If I may ask you here of the next stage in Libya. Now, Egypt and led the diplomacy led by the highest leadership in itself has been holding a number of a number of meetings, a number of contacts with different world states, different high-ranking officials, different leaders, in order to discuss a number of issues, regional and international issues of mutual concerns. But at top of the topics that the leadership was keen always to discuss was the Libyan cause. How far do you see the Egyptian diplomacy, led by its highest leadership, is carrying out with its role regarding the Libyan file, and what would be our next steps regarding this file?
This is very important, and here when you have a sort of 100 problems or more in the Libyan case, here we come to what we call in diplomacy step-by-step diplomacy. Don't try to solve all the problems at once, but try to choose the problems where it is easy to bring approval from everybody about it. So success is a sort of paving the way to convince the people that a small step of success will lead to a larger step of success and so on. So I do not have really a sort of specific scenario, but it depends totally on those who are on the table of negotiations, those who are negotiating. Then if they see any light in the end of the tunnel, like we said, then they catch it and they start one step after the other. But we need small stories of success. We need to convince the people that what we are aiming to is much better than the actual situation, that Libya can be staying for years without having full control on its security and its wealth. And mind you that there are foreign countries who are greedy and they want to share the Libyan wealth, even the wealth of the East Mediterranean, and we know this. And Egypt made a very good job concerning this problem. So let us hope that we can start by step-by-step solution, to start by the easier solution, and this will lead us at the end of the tunnel to have full contribution of all the parties in order to have full agreement about what we need to see in Libya.
Ambassador Bayoumi, in order for people to understand the complicated situation in Libya, we have here to address the elements that are really...
Still, I don't hear you.
Again, in order to be able to make people understand how the situation in Libya is complicated, then we have to address the elements that is really complicating the situation in Libya. And Libya has seen dramatic developments since 2011. Can we can we just define or explain the elements that are really hindering the proceeding in the Libyan situation, and why the situation in Libya is very much complicated?
Let us start from the end. It's very complicated because we have too many different opinions and too many different tribes and parties. So we have to take this from the beginning and to convince every side alone that they can, if they follow our advice, they will reach better solutions than what they are facing now. The good element here is that Egypt is very well accepted to all the parties, and we have nothing to ask from Libya for Egypt. All what we are doing is for the sake of Libya and the Libyans. So I hope that this will convince all the parties
Yes.
to believe that we are doing what we are doing is for their
Yes.
good future, and we do that.
Ambassador Bayoumi, when I speak here about elements, I'm speaking about the elements that are obstructing or who are hindering the proceeding with the process itself. And I'm speaking here about the interference and how this reflects on the real will of the Libyan people. So I'm speaking about two dimensions: the foreign interference and the Libyan will, and how is that being reflected, or how the foreign intervention is really reflecting on the Libyan will, and how is that not helping the quick movement of the Libyans?
We have the good part of the story here that the foreign intervention, Egypt was lucky that we are supported by all our friends all over Europe, the Atlantic. Europe has threatened those who are trying to interfere in Libya by official forces or else. Also, the Atlantic is ready there in order to put things in order, because here we have the interest of countries like Greece or Cyprus and Malta and those countries on the Eastern Mediterranean. The complicated part that we have something like 10 or 15,000 terrorists employed there for you don't know to which part they belong. So here is the difficult part and the difficult part. How we are going to get rid of those 15,000 terrorists, how we are going and where we can send them, because they come from nowhere. Here is the real complicated problem. But as of the foreign interference from governments, we are up to this task, and we can do it with the help of the Libyans themselves, the Atlantic and the European Union. All of them are on our side in helping us to get rid of the problem.
Yes, Ambassador Bayoumi, if I may ask about the next stage in Libya, if I may ask you about what is requested from the international community in order to help Libya. We are aware that the international community has not interfered in the positive way to help Libya so far. And we are aware of how the chaotic situation was introduced in Libya in 2011. Now, what is really requested from the international community in order to stabilize this country, in order to be able to return back to its previous situation and even get stronger in this upcoming stage?
I don't think that at this stage we need something from the United Nations, for instance, or any other international organization, because it is a practical problem. We are on the stage there, and we have to face problems by ourselves and with also by the Libyan interest to be maintained. But United Nations, for instance, we see that it is sometimes is not capable to take decisions to help you or to help us in this situation. Take the dam of Ethiopia as an example, where the international community couldn't take the right decision or a final decision which will help us. So let us depend on ourselves and on the positive elements of the Libyan national movement and go from this point to help ourselves. Mind you, I repeat that we are lucky that the European Union and the Atlantic are behind what we are asking also. And I think we can reach from there find a good solution for all the parties.
Mm-hmm. Ambassador Bayoumi, finally here, we are in need of transforming our states into a full, strong and capable states filled with prosperity, filled with democracy, filled with development. And I have to say that Egypt really reflects or really presents such an image to the whole world. And I guess we followed today the attendance of President Sisi to the Judiciary Day celebration for the very first time. How far would Egypt set an example, especially after hearing, of course, the statements of the President today? How far is or does Egypt represent an example for the Middle East or for the Arab world? And how is the world perceiving the situation in Egypt?
This is a very important point also, and I think we are doing tremendous work in order to make our friends and our neighbors understand the Egyptian experience, and it inspires them to see what we are doing, empowering the law, empower women, human rights. In the last few weeks, we have witnessed in Egypt different and several developments in many fields where we are proud of, and we can share our experience with everybody, either through the diplomacy or directly to train people coming here. I am proud that we are training several diplomats coming from Arab and African countries. Few days ago, I was at the Nasser Academy at the War Faculty, talking to 40 leaders from 30 countries, from the armies of 30 countries. And something I like to tell you, that while we are talking to them about our experience and to tell them what we can do together, they totally agree with the Egyptian attitude and the Egyptian experience. So Egypt is doing its best. And here I recall the experience of the Egyptian Agency for Partnership and Development in Africa. We are doing this to all our friends, either on the Arab fold or the African Union. Egypt will not hesitate of helping those who want to have this experience. But after all, I always raise the slogan, God will help those who are helping themselves.
Yes, indeed. That's a German slogan.
Who are not ready to help themselves.
Indeed. Indeed. Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you so much for being with us and for highlighting the situation in Libya here and giving your input. Thank you so much. And moving on with our episode, and let's watch this report.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi emphasized the importance that Egypt attaches to the success of the political path and the withdrawal of all foreign forces from Libya, underlying the importance of holding elections in December. In the same context that is affecting way the stability of the region is the return of countries in the crisis to the national state framework in a comprehensive sense. The President's remarks were made on Wednesday in a meeting with visiting American National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. Presidential spokesman Bassam Rodi said that the talks aimed at ensuring Libya's December elections go ahead as planned. In his meeting with President Sisi, they spoke about organizing the Libyan elections as well as the withdrawal of foreign troops and mercenaries from the war-ravaged country and the unification of its armed forces. Sullivan's trip to Cairo came around 2 weeks after Egypt separately hosted Libya's interim Prime Minister Abdelhamid al-Dibeiba and Eastern Libyan strongman Khalifa Haftar. A UN-led process secured a landmark ceasefire in October last year, raising hopes that elections scheduled for December 24th can bring lasting peace to the country. Minister of Foreign Affairs Semeh Shoukry, meanwhile on Thursday, urged the need for an unconditional, simultaneous and coordinated exit of all foreign mercenaries from the North African country. Delivering a speech at the AU Peace and Security virtual meeting on Libya, Shoukry said that such an exit should come in line with international resolutions and through supporting the mission of the 5+5 Joint Military Committee on Libya. Shoukry said that Cairo had warned Tripoli against the ramifications of armed conflicts in the country and affirmed that Egypt might find itself obliged to take necessary actions to protect its national security.
Right, welcome back. And I guess, yes, indeed, Libya needs all the support of the international community at large, and Egypt has been always part and parcel of this continuous support. I guess that takes us to the end of this.